What's up, everybody? This is Josh Burton from Everything College Basketball. We're here today to talk about the Big East Conference Tournament Preview Show. And what a conference it's been. Raise your hand if you had St. John's, yes, the Johnnies, winning the Big East regular season crown. I'm waiting. Now raise your hand if you had them winning it by 3 full games. Nobody raising their hand unless you're St. John's fans. Well, let me bring you to reality because that actually happened. Rick Pitino in year number 2 has St. John's for the first time since 1985, outright Big East regular season champions, and they did it in convincing fashion. The Johnnies are the 27-4 overall. They finished 18-2 in league play. Second behind the Johnnies was Creighton at 15-5, Connecticut third at 14-6, Marquette, Xavier finished at 13-7, Villanova 11-9, and then everybody else with sub 500 conference records. When we look at the Big East Conference this year, you're looking at Connecticut was the number 1 offensive team in the league, but it's St. John's defense, not only number 1 by a large margin in the conference, but one of the absolute best defenses in college basketball this year. The Big East ranked 4th this year in Ken Palm's ratings, behind only the SEC, Big 10, and Big 12 conferences. You're looking at, as we head into league play and into Selection Sunday this upcoming weekend, you're looking as of right now, 4 sure locks in the NCAA tournament. St. John's, Creighton, Connecticut, Marquette. You have one team that's on the bubble, but is as hot as anybody in the league and in the country right now, in the Xavier Musketeers. Once they got Zach Freemantle back, they became a different team. That's about it. You're talking about a league who currently has, and I know it's different times, they've lost teams since this happened, but this is a Big East that it's historically been dominant, that historically has the most teams of all time in one NCAA tournament setting back in 2011. And they didn't get many teams last year. They're projected to only get 4 right now, with the possibility of 5 if Xavier gets across the bubble land there. Or unless a team like Villanova or Georgetown or Butler or one of the others makes a surprising run in Madison Square Garden. Speaking of Madison Square Garden, the most historic venue in all of sports, Madison Square Garden has been the host for the Big East Conference Tournament Championship for decades now. What a fantastic setting for college basketball, the Big East and the Madison Square Garden is. And what an even better scenario this year. If you are able to go to MSG, the Red Storm, the Johnnies fan base will be there in mass. Most years, if we're being honest, they haven't had much to cheer about. They still show up, but not like it'll be this upcoming week when you have a top 10 ranked St. John's regular season champ that have been selling out the Garden for Big East play this year against the likes of Connecticut, that have something to be proud about. Rick Pitino and the Red Storm were just on Jimmy Fallon. Like, it is cool to be a St. John's fan again. They will take over the Garden. But who else takes over the Garden no matter what? Connecticut fans. Creighton fans travel fairly well. I'd imagine you have a decent contingent of Marquette fans and Xavier fans. The Garden will be popping this upcoming week for the Big East Conference Tournament, and I cannot wait until action begins. If you're watching this live when this comes out, today, action on Tuesday begins with the first round. As I'm recording this on a Monday evening, action begins tomorrow afternoon. Let's get in to the Big East Conference Tournament. As you see, first round action begins on, I said Tuesday. I meant Wednesday. On Wednesday, the number 9 seeded Butler in the Big East Tournament will play the number 8 seed Providence. Both teams vary up and down this year. Both teams probably had higher expectations for themselves, and neither really came through, both with a 6-14 conference mark. Butler had a string there from December 7th to January 11th where they lost a ton of games. They lost 8 in a row after starting the year 7-1. 9 in a row after starting the year 7-1. Now, during that streak, they played the likes of Houston, North Dakota State, who's not bad, Wisconsin, Marquette, Connecticut, St. John's, Creighton, Villanova. They've played a very tough schedule during that, but you can't lose them all. You don't have to win them all, but you can't lose them all either if you're Butler. Their best wins on the year, if we're being honest, if we're talking about Butler, is Mississippi State. That's an NCAA tournament team. That's a good win, but it's really their only win of note. Their Big East wins, you're talking about Seton Hall twice, DePaul twice. They've got a win over Providence, as mentioned, and a Georgetown. That's their 6. Butler's 42nd in offense, 148 in defense. It's a very ho-hum, so-so type of team, but they do have a stud. We talk about all the time in March where one guy or two guys can really get hot and make magic. Jemai Telford's that dude. He's a dude that you look up and he's got 25 in a game, and all of a sudden Butler wins at the buzzer or they win comfortably because Jemai Telford can go get them points. Pierre Brooks, up and down type of year, but another dude that on his best day could really pitch in and have impact on both offensively, defensively on this team. Finley Bizjack, Patrick McCaffrey can shoot the ball both over 40% from the three-point line. Butler has some talent. They shoot the three ball well, 37.1%, and they defend the three-point shot well. They're 61st in the country. Teams only shooting 31.6%. But again, Butler is so up and down. They don't force turnovers. They're 362nd in the nation in forcing turnovers. So it's going to be something that they have to either luck their way into or all of a sudden change the defensive gameplay and start taking chances in the passing lanes. I don't think it's too late. I think it's too late in the year to maybe try to start doing that. Providence, another one of those teams, 12-9 overall. It's been a struggle for Kim English's team. They've really been hurt by the loss of Bryce Hopkins yet again. Bryce Hopkins on this team, probably a different story, but they've really, really struggled. They've lost 9 of their last 10. Their only win against Villanova in a surprising manner in a lot of ways, considering Villanova's been better than what they were. Still not great, but better. That's their only win in their last 10 to end the regular season. Bensley Joseph, Jaden Pierre, Corey Floyd, some good players too, but they've just not been able to put it together. So it's a very ho-hum matchup here, but somebody's got to win. I'm going Butler. I think Jemai Telford will be the best player on the floor at a given time, and because he has the ability to go get you 25, 30 points if he's hot, give me Butler. They do shoot the three ball well. Give me Butler to move on to the next round. You have number 10 seed DePaul playing number 7 seed Georgetown. Georgetown, they fooled me in a way because at the beginning of the year, they started the year off 12-2, 3-0 in conference play. Wins over Creighton, Seton Hall, and Xavier. Creighton, Xavier, 2 very good wins. They also have a win against Villanova. They beat Butler. They actually swept Villanova. They've got some good wins, but they got swept by DePaul. Not good, considering that's who you're playing right now. DePaul is a 10 seed in the league, and they just didn't finish strong. Thomas Sorber was a breakout performer for the Hoyas this year, but he ends up getting hurt a while back. He is done for the rest of the year. Micah Peavy has been amazing. I think our guy, Michael DeRosa, threw the stat out not too long ago of one of our shows. In the month of February, Peavy averaged like 25, 8, 6, 5. I mean, it's just a nut stat line. He is an all-conference type of performer that could absolutely carry Georgetown to a win against DePaul, but could carry them if they were to go on a surprise run. It's going to be on the back of Micah Peavy. Malik Mack, Jaden Epps, 2 very good players as well. Georgetown's got talent. They've just not been able to put it all together. They just absolutely defensively, they've been really solid. They're top 55 in defensive efficiency. Offensively, they rank 142nd. They've got to be able to score the ball, but they're prone to go on 6-7 minute scoring droughts. That's not going to get it done. But I think they have enough to finally get past DePaul, despite being swept in the regular season. I just saw it in the OVC tournament championship. SIUE was swept in the regular season by SEMO, but then they get them in the OVC tournament final, and they win to punch their bid to the NCAA tournament and become OVC tournament champions. It can be done. I think Georgetown gets their get back at the right time against DePaul, moves on to the next round. The last game of the first round, 11 seed Seton Hall against 6 seed Villanova. I'll keep this short and sweet. Seton Hall, I really do feel bad for Seton Hall fans and the whole administration. Like, I really feel bad for Shaheen Holloway because the NIL is not great. They don't have a lot of money, and it's an uphill climb for the Seton Hall Pirates. And if you remember, it wasn't that long ago. A few years back, Seton Hall was making NCAA tournaments pre-NIL days before it really got to what it is. But nonetheless, they were making NCAA tournaments under Kevin Willard. But Shaheen Holloway has not gotten that type of support. This has been a struggle. They lose some players from last year, and things are not going well. We'll put it that way mildly. 7-24 in the year, 2-18 in league. Villanova's Eric Dixon. Villanova's got talent. They've just been massively underperformed the last couple years, but they've got enough talent. I've got Villanova and TKO. Brings us to quarterfinal Thursday, where we'll have Butler against St. John's. Look, again, Butler shoots the three well. Can Jemai Telford go for a big game? Yes. But, man, St. John's you cannot kill them. We talked about it this last Sunday on episode 223 after St. John's rallied to beat Marquette on the road to close out the regular season at the buzzer. To beat St. John's this year, you have to – it's like an old vampire movie. You can't kill the vampire by stabbing him. You have to take a stake right through his heart and stab multiple times before they're dead. That's how you have to beat St. John's, because they're physically tough. The defense is elite. Yeah, they don't shoot the ball well, but if you allow them remotely to have any breath in their lungs, they're going to beat you. And you don't think that on the first game on Thursday that the Johnnies aren't going to be ready for Butler? I think that's suffocation city, baby. Give me the Johnnies moving on to semifinal Friday. The 5-4 matchup is very intriguing. We talked about Xavier coming in on the bubble, needing a win, possibly two. They can start things against you don't want to call them slumping, but Marquette has not been Marquette. They've not had a win over an NCAA tournament team or projected tournament team since January 3rd, where they beat Creighton. We're going almost 2 full months since Marquette has had a win over a team projected in the NCAA tournament. Yes, Cam Jones has been amazing, player of the year contender in the league, but they've not really got production out of anybody else on a consistent basis. They're not the same Marquette we've seen the last couple of years, and that's been evident. They really struggle at times to close out games. They struggle to find an offensive rhythm at times, despite being 33rd in offense. But there's moments and crucial spots of games, mind you, where they take bad shots or they just cannot find a bucket. I think that spells danger against the Xavier team, who is red hot right now. Xavier has already beaten them back on January 18th. Now, Marquette did get them in the first matchup December 21st, but like I said, since Xavier got Zach Fremantle back, they are now on a 7-game win streak since the loss on February 9th to Villanova. They've beaten Creighton in that time period, swept Butler, swept Providence, but they've also got wins over Connecticut. Like I said, they beat Marquette, they beat Villanova. I like Xavier in this matchup. 12th in the country in three-point shooting at 38.5%, 10th in free throw percentage. So not only are they making it from the outside, they're getting to the foul line. And when they do get to the foul line, they are making and converting. And their assist-made field goals are 5th in the nation. 64.3% of made field goals are coming off an assist. That means that team is popping the ball, finding the open shooter, in rhythm, on target, and they're making shots. I like where Xavier's at right now, behind Zach Fremantle, Ryan Conwell, David McKnight. He's been good during his career. I really like this Xavier team. They're fighting for an NCAA tournament bid, 21-10, 13-7 in the league, 7-game win streak. Give me the Musketeers to beat Marquette, to move to semifinal Friday, to play St. John's. And I think with that win alone, they're in the NCAA tournament. You're talking about a 22-win team from the Big East with some really good wins under their belt, 2 against Marquette, 1 against Creighton. I think they're in, barring any crazy bid stealers. Other quarterfinal action, 2-seed Creighton against 7-seed Georgetown. Georgetown does have a win against Creighton. We talked about it, but without Thomas Sorber, I think it's going to be difficult, despite Micah Peavy being very, very good. Ryan Kalkbrenner is going to dominate on the inside. I don't think Georgetown has anybody that can match up with him. I think they can force Stephen Ashworth in some bad turnovers, but I don't think it'll be enough. Kalkbrenner gets it done. I think Creighton moves on. And then this one right here, Villanova, Connecticut. Connecticut will have the overwhelming fan advantage in Madison Square Garden. Connecticut has been playing much better basketball as of late. They're not the team of the last 2 years where they're coming in and you think, man, this team could win the title 2 years ago because how dominant they were, especially in non-conference games. But even in conference play, they looked really good. And then last year, we know how good they were pretty much all year. They're not that team. They've dealt with injuries. They dealt with Maui where they couldn't defend anybody. That's kind of reared their ugly head at times this year. Swept by St. John's, no shame there. The bad loss to Seton Hall back on February 15th. Connecticut, though, riding a 4-game win streak. Georgetown, Providence, Marquette, Seton Hall. Maybe they've started to figure it out. Liam McNeely has been awesome as a freshman. Terrace Reed coming in from Michigan has been really good for him. Solo Ball has been amazing. Alex Caravan concerns me a little bit because when he's good, man, he's got back-to-back championship pedigree. But we've seen in games that they've lost that he's missed huge free throws down the stretch. Can you trust him on the line? Can you trust Connecticut's defense to stay solid like it's been here lately? Or does it revert back to earlier in the year? Or revert back to some of these losses where they can't guard anybody? This should be a very interesting matchup. I say that to say Villanova has already beaten UConn this year. They beat them 68-66 back on January 8th. They played them to a 7-point game in a game that they were very tight in up in Gamble Pavilion back on February 18th. Villanova has a dude in Eric Dixon that can absolutely carry them across the finish line. There is a huge part of me that wants to take Villanova on the upset here because we see it all the time in these conference tournaments. When you don't think the team should win a game, a la North Carolina State last year, boom, there it happens. Connecticut wins against Villanova, the slightest of margins. But I could absolutely, and there's a big part of me wants to say Villanova wins this game behind Eric Dixon. But I'm going to take Connecticut, but I think they get a scare put in them on Thursday night in the quarterfinals. That brings semifinal Friday, St. John's against Xavier. Xavier, the winningest Marquette, in my opinion, locks them in the NCAA tournament. But just in case it doesn't, they get another quad one opportunity against the best team in the league, one of the best teams in the country against St. John's. Can Xavier win this game? Absolutely. The way we've already talked about it. Assist of made field goals is really high. They shoot free throws really well. They shoot the three ball really well. Zach Freemantle, they've got a better offense than St. John's. But again, if they don't kill St. John's, meaning if they don't get up 10, 12 points late in the game and hold them at bay, St. John's will use that defense. They'll switch it to a press. They'll start trapping on inbounds, and they will out-tough them. The Johnnies fans are looking to explode. Rick Pitino in conference tournaments, he's going to have the white suit on. Xavier gives a great effort and makes this really dangerous for the Johnnies. But St. John's has won me over. The Johnnies win behind their defense, move to championship Saturday night in Madison Square Garden. Who will they face? Creighton or Connecticut? I know I've mentioned Connecticut struggle and have a scare against Villanova. Creighton is a better team than Villanova. But I think Connecticut can take Stephen Ashworth out the game entirely. If they can take Stephen Ashworth out the game, they can't, Creighton, that being, cannot get Ryan Kalkbrenner the ball. If you can't get Ryan Kalkbrenner the ball, Creighton is useless on offense for the most part. Connecticut plays good defense, suffocates, switches things up, and they'll go on a run offensively to set up a final on Saturday night. Picture this, Madison Square Garden, the two biggest fan bases that'll be in the Garden this week. The St. John's Red Storm and the Johnnies fans in red, the Connecticut Husky fans in their white or blue, whatever they're going to wear on Saturday night, clashing, sold out Madison Square Garden. Part 3, we saw this matchup in the exact same building a few weeks ago, and Rick Pitino has won both matchups. I think the Johnnies complete sweep Connecticut. There's something special about the St. John's team, the way they defend, the way Rick Pitino has completely transformed a guy like Zuby Ejiofor. If you guys recall, Zuby started his career at Kansas where he was the third choice center, seeing minimal action for Bill Self. Nobody in their right mind thought when he transferred last year into St. John's to play for Rick Pitino, he would be this player. Nobody even thought coming in this year he'd be this player after based on last year. he is transformed into basically an all-conference type player, all first-teamer in the Big East. He's been awesome. Kadarius Richmond can't shoot, but he can rebound, and he can make 15-footers, pull-ups. He just can't shoot from three. RJ Lewis has been really great for him. Simeon Wilcher has been good as a sophomore in moments, change of pace. If David Smith plays, you're talking about an elite defensive point guard that is athletic as all get out. I love the St. John's team. I think Rick Pitino gets a clean sweep over the best damn coach in the country, using his own words. And I think St. John's parties all night long in New York City with the Red Storm fans and the Johnnies fans. The Garden is back, and it's red with Johnny pride.